Principal Okoye snatched the tin plate from teacher Kwame's hand. The fufu and groundnut soup splattered into the red dirt. "You're fired for feeding vermin," he spat. The vermin was Amara, a barefoot 9-year-old orphan with hollowed cheeks and a torn yellow dress. Kwame's crime? Splitting his lunch with her every single day for 6 months. His punishment? Demotion from teacher to janitor. His salary slashed from 12,000 naira to 4,000, barely $9 a week. Have you ever been punished for showing mercy? This is one of those African stories where a touching story of generosity collides with brutal injustice, only to reveal how real-life stories can turn a humble teacher into a billionaire. What unfolds in this African folklore will challenge everything you think you know about karma and life stories, but the twist that made him a billionaire, it hides in plain sight. Aba Village Primary School sat on the edge of southeastern Nigeria's palm oil belt. 6 crumbling classrooms, a rusted flagpole, 200 students whose parents paid 3,000 naira per term. Principal Okoye drove a new black SUV, teacher Kwame, as he lived in a single room behind the generator shed. 34, widowed. His wife had died 3 years earlier during childbirth, taking their daughter with her. The room still smelled faintly of her cocoa butter lotion. He kept her blue chalk box on the windowsill, a wedding gift she'd painted herself. Every morning, Kwame taught Standard 4 mathematics. His students called him Teacher Minus Plus because he used bottle caps for subtraction and addition. At noon, the school bell rang. Children unpacked jollof rice and fried plantains. Kwame unwrapped his fufu and groundnut soup, always the same meal bought from the woman by the gate, and every single day, he walked to the fence where Amara waited. She was 9. Her parents died 2 years ago in a car accident on the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway. No relatives came. She slept under the tarpaulin roof of the yam seller's stall, 300 meters from the school. Her yellow dress, once bright, was now the color of dust. Kwame never asked her to come. She simply appeared one afternoon 6 months ago, watching the children eat through the chain-link fence. He walked over, handed her his plate. She stared, terrified, then snatched the food and ran. The next day she returned. He began dividing his meal, 60% for her, 40% for himself. After she ate, he taught her multiplication using bottle caps. She learned fast. Within 2 months, she could multiply 3-digit numbers. In her head, no one noticed. Until Mrs. Nkem visited. She was the school board chairwoman, 50s. Her husband owned a printing press that supplied textbooks to 12 district schools. On a Friday in May 2008, she arrived in her silver Mercedes to inspect the learning environment. She saw Kwame at the fence, handing his plate to Amara. 30 seconds later, she was in Okoye's office. "That teacher is feeding a street beggar at our gate. What will parents think?" Okoye summoned Kwame immediately. "I've warned you 3 times, Okoye said, steepling his fingers. "That girl does not pay fees. She's a distraction." Kwame stood quietly. His hands were calloused from chalk dust. "Our people say Onya adiri akubiko, yagba onweya oso," Okoye continued. "He who has nothing should help himself run. You're enabling laziness. The proverb was wrong." Kwame knew it. The original meant, he who asks for help must also help himself move forward. Okoye had twisted it. "I understand, sir," Kwame said. "No, you don't." Okoye stood. "I'm calling a staff meeting today, 4 p.m. 20 teachers gathered in the staff room. The air was thick with heat and cheap perfume. Okoye stood at the front, holding Kwame's blue chalk box. Teacher Kwame has been warned 3 times about feeding street children. His voice was loud, theatrical. Today, I caught him again. This reflects poorly on our institution. A few teachers glanced at Kwame. Most stared at their desks. Effective immediately, Teacher Kwame is demoted to janitorial duties. His teaching certificate is suspended for 1 year. Okoye paused. His salary drops to 4,000 naira per month. 4,000. Kwame's rent alone was 3,000. Okoye placed the blue chalk box on his desk. Janitors don't need chalk. Mrs. Adana, who taught English, whispered, "This is too harsh." Okoye silenced her with a look. Kwame bowed slightly. "I understand, sir." He collected the mop and bucket from the storage closet. As he left, Mrs. Nkem's voice echoed down the corridor. "Finally, someone who enforces discipline. That evening, Kwame found Amara by the fence. She was crying. Papa Kwame. It was the first time she'd called him that. They fired you because of me. He knelt. His knees cracked. No, they fired me because they forgot what kindness looks like. I won't come back, she said. I won't eat your food anymore. He pulled out a small bundle wrapped in paper, half a loaf of bread he'd bought with his last 200 naira. Hunger is not a crime, he said. Eat, she took it. Her hands shook. Meet me tomorrow, Kwame said, behind the generator shed. 7 a.m. before school starts, she nodded. From that day, Kwame fed her in secret, behind the dumpster. In the shadows, where Okoye couldn't see, Amara found a torn exercise book in the school's trash pile. She began drawing pictures with a broken pencil, Kwame handing her food. Kwame teaching numbers. Kwame smiling. She titled each page. Thank you, Papa. The yellow notebook would stay with her. For 12 years, 7 months passed. Kwame mopped floors before sunrise and scrubbed toilets after sunset. His back ached constantly, a dull throb between his shoulder blades. At night, he worked security shifts at the Total gas station on the Enugu-Port Harcourt Highway, 5 kilometers from school. He slept 4 hours, sometimes 3. His salary covered rent barely. For food, he bought gari and palm oil, sometimes dried fish. Amara met him every morning at 7 behind the generator shed. He taught her fractions using chalk on the concrete wall. She wore the same yellow dress. More holes than fabric now. One Tuesday in November, she didn't come. Kwame waited 15 minutes, then walked to the market. He found her collapsed beside the yam seller's stall, forehead hot, lips cracked. The seller, Mama Ngozi, was pouring water on her face. Fever since yesterday, Mama Ngozi said. Won't eat. Kwame carried Amara to the government clinic on Hospital Road. The nurse examined her quickly. Malaria. Severe. She needs injections. 3 days. How much? 2,500 naira. Kwame had 800 in his pocket. Rent was due in 4 days. He paid the 800 as deposit. I'll bring the rest tomorrow. That night, he worked a double shift at the gas station, 16 hours. His supervisor paid him cash, 1,000 naira. He brought it to the clinic at dawn. Amara recovered. Kwame got evicted. He moved his belongings, a mat, 2 shirts, the blue chalk box he'd reclaimed from Okoye's dustbin, into the generator shed. Okoye walked past him that afternoon, smiled, said nothing. Mrs. Ankem's Mercedes still gleamed in the school parking lot every Friday. Business as usual. December arrived. Harmattan winds turned the sky grey. Kwame's cough worsened. He ignored it. Then on a Sunday morning, Dr. Chinwe appeared. She was 68, retired schoolteacher, white hair, wire-rimmed glasses, a walking stick she didn't need but carried anyway. She'd heard rumors. A teacher turned janitor feeding a street orphan. Fired for kindness. She didn't believe it until she saw them herself, Kwame and Amara under the mango tree, long division drawn in the sand with a stick. Teacher Kwame, she said. May I sit? He stood quickly. Ma, please. She lowered herself onto a tree root, watched them work for 5 minutes, silent. Amara solved a problem. Dr. Chinwe's eyebrows rose. How old is she? 11, Ma. And she's doing primary 6 mathematics. Yes, Ma. Dr. Chinwe tapped her walking stick twice. I run a tutoring center. 3 rooms, chalkboard, books. Come on Sundays. Both of you. Ma, I have no money. Did I ask for money? Her voice was sharp, then softened. I asked you to come. The next Sunday they went. The center was small but clean. 12 students attended, children whose parents paid 200 naira monthly for extra lessons. Dr. Chinwe gave Kwame a key. Sundays are yours. Teach her everything. For 6 months, every Sunday from 9 to 3, Kwame taught Amara. Primary 4, 5, 6, she learned fast. Too fast. By March 2009, she'd finished the entire primary curriculum. One afternoon in June, Dr. Chinwe brought a cardboard box. For you, she said. Inside, a laptop, old scratched, a 2005 Dell with a cracked screen. But it worked. I don't know computers, Ma. Then learn. Dr. Chinwe's eyes were serious. The world is changing. Chalk won't be enough. Kwame borrowed books from the public library. At night, after gas station shifts, he taught himself to type. 2 fingers, slowly. He learned file systems, basic word processing, how to navigate folders. Then he taught Amara. She struggled at first. The keyboard confused her. The mouse felt foreign, but Dr. Chinwe brought a USB drive loaded with tutorials. Khan Academy videos, typing programs, simple coding lessons downloaded from an internet cafe. Amara spent hours replaying the videos. By December 2009, she could type 30 words per minute. By February 2010, she'd completed an introductory HTML course designed for 15-year-olds. She built a web page. One line of text, "Thank you, Papa Kwame." He stared at the screen. His throat tightened. That same month, Dr. Chinwe made an announcement. The federal government is offering scholarships. Full boarding school. Top 50 students per state. Exam is March 20th. She looked at Amara. "You're taking it." Amara was 12. No formal schooling. No birth certificate. Dr. Chinwe handled it. Registry clerk. Favors called in. Within 2 weeks, Amara had papers. Birth certificate, age declaration. Primary leaving certificate marked homeschooled. Kwame spent his last 50,000 naira, 13 months of savings scraped from tips and night wages, on exam registration, new clothes and shoes. The exam was in Aba, 200 children. 10 slots. Amara wore a white shirt and blue skirt Dr. Chinwe had sewn. Her feet hurt in the new shoes. She didn't complain. 4 hours, mathematics, English, science, reasoning. Results came 6 weeks later, 98%. Highest in the district. Full scholarship to Federal Government College, Lagos, 6 years. Room, board, tuition, books, everything. The letter arrived on a Thursday. Kwame read it twice, then sat on the floor of the generator shed and wept. Amara found him, knelt beside him. "Papa Kwame, why are you crying?" "Because you're going to have a life." She hugged him. "When I grow up, I'll come back for you. I promise." He didn't believe her, not because she lied, but because the world didn't work that way. Still, he smiled. "I know you will." In September 2010, Amara left for Lagos. Kwame stood at the motor park holding the yellow notebook she'd given him. "Keep this," she'd said, "so you remember why you matter." The bus pulled away. Kwame waved until it vanished. He returned to the generator shed, to his mop, to gas station shifts that bent his spine. Folklore still sneered at him in the corridors. Mrs. Nkem's textbook contract still fattened her husband's bank account. Nothing changed, except Kwame stopped praying for rescue. He prayed for endurance. 5 years would pass before Amara contacted him again. When she did, she wouldn't ask for help. She'd offer him a choice, one so risky even he would doubt it. But hidden in that choice was a decision that would turn a 50,000 naira investment into 120 million US. The seeds were already planted in a Lagos dorm room. In lines of code, a 17-year-old girl was writing late at night. Kwame didn't know it yet, but his fortune was already being built. 5 years disappeared into the rhythm of survival. Kwame turned 41. His hair grayed at the temples. His back pain became permanent, a low fire that flared when he lifted trash bags or bent over mop buckets. He still lived in the generator shed. Okoye had hired a new mathematics teacher, a young man who drove a motorcycle and wore cologne. The students called him Teacher Sharp. Kwame cleaned his classroom every evening. Mrs. Nkem remained school board chairwoman. Her husband's printing business expanded to 18 schools. Photocopied textbooks, inflated prices. No investigations. Amara sent letters during her first 2 years in Lagos. "Papa Kwame, I got first position. Mathematics, 96%. They taught us computer science. I already knew everything." Then the letters stopped. Kwame told himself it was normal. She was busy, growing up. Moving on, he kept the yellow notebook in a plastic bag under his mat. On difficult nights, he opened it, looked at the crayon drawings. "Thank you, Papa." In March 2015, his phone rang. A Nokia 3310 he'd bought used in 2009. It rarely rang. "Hello? Papa Kwame." The voice was older, steadier, but unmistakable. "Amara?" "Yes, Papa." Crying, laughing, both. "It's me." He sat on his mat, hands shaking. "Are you well?" "I graduated University Computer Science. First class honors." She paused. "I got a job. Tech company. 70,000 naira per month. 17 times his salary. I'm so proud of you," he whispered. "Papa, I'm coming tomorrow. I have something for you." She arrived at noon the next day, 23, tall, hair braided, jeans and a simple blouse. She carried a black backpack. She ran to him, hugged him hard. "You're too thin," he laughed. "I'm fine." She looked at the generator shed, the mat, the blue chalk box on the windowsill. Her face hardened. "You still live here." "It's enough." "No, it's not." She pulled out a manila envelope. "I've been saving. This is for you. 100,000 naira cash, Amara. I can't. For rent, medical bills, food." Her voice cracked. "You gave me everything. Let me give back." He took it. Hands trembling, she opened her laptop, showed him a screen filled with icons and text. "Papa, I've been building something. An app called Teachbox. It connects volunteer teachers with students who can't afford school. Like what you did for me. But digital. How does it work? Teachers create video lessons. Students access them free. We earn through donations and sponsorships." She looked at him. "I need a co-founder. Someone who understands education. Who has heart? Amara, I'm a janitor. You were a teacher. You taught me mathematics when I had nothing. That's the skill I need. I don't know technology. I handle tech. You handle curriculum, vision." She paused. "I've applied to Launchpad, a startup accelerator in Lagos. They fund early companies. 3 million naira. 6 months of support. 3 million. The number stunned him. "But there's a condition. I need a co-founder with teaching experience. And we need to invest our own money. 500,000 naira total. I have 200,000. We need 300,000 more." His stomach dropped. "I don't have that. Think about it. I'm staying 2 days. If you say yes, we do this together. If no, I'll find another way." After she left, Kwame walked to Dr. Chinwe's house, told her everything. Dr. Chinwe listened, then opened a metal box, counted out 300,000 naira. Her retirement savings. "This is a loan," she said. "You'll pay me back when you succeed. Not if, when. Ma, what if we fail? Then you fail trying to lift others. That's better than mopping floors forever." She pushed the money forward. "Take the risk." He took it. The next morning he gave Amara the cash. "I'm in," she exhaled. "We're really doing this." They practiced their pitch 40 times. In August 2015, they traveled to Lagos. Launchpad's office was glass and chrome. Young people in hoodies, MacBooks everywhere. Kwame felt ancient, a 41-year-old janitor in borrowed shoes. But when they entered the pitch room, 5 investors behind a long table, Amara smiled at him. "Ready, Papa?" He nodded. She began. "My name is Amara Okafor. This is Kwame Eze. 7 years ago, he was fired for feeding me, a homeless orphan, his lunch. Today, we're here to show you how that kindness can educate 2 million African children." The investors leaned forward. Kwame spoke. His voice shook, then steadied. He talked about invisible students, about children who fell through cracks, about education built on mercy instead of money. When they finished, silence. Then the lead investor spoke. "You're in. 3 million naira. 6 months. Amara grabbed his hand. They walked out, stood on the sidewalk, laughed until they cried. Teachbox launched January 2016. By June, 3,000 users. December, 20,000. By mid-2017, 150,000 servers crashed. Videos buffered. But teachers kept signing up. Students kept learning. Corporate sponsors noticed. UNICEF donated $50,000. The Gates Foundation featured them in a case study. In January 2018, Kwame received an email. Subject line, Acquisition Inquiry, Microsoft Education. He stared at the screen. Called Amara. "Papa, they want to buy us," she said. Her voice was shaking. "They're offering $120 million US. Silence. "Papa, how much is that in naira?" 43 billion. His vision blurred. They flew to Seattle in March 2018. Lawyers, contracts, negotiations. Kwame signed documents he barely understood. Amara handled the details. The deal closed in May, 50-50 split. Kwame's share, $60 million, from a generator shed to a net worth that could buy 6,000 generator sheds. He called Dr. Chinwe first. "Ma, I'm paying you back." "With interest," she laughed. "I told you. When, not if." Back in Abba Village, Mrs. Nkem heard rumors. The janitor sold something to Microsoft. Impossible, she thought. Probably a scam. In June 2018, she received an invitation, Abba Village Primary School's 60th anniversary jubilee. The governor would attend. A special donor had pledged 50 million naira. She smiled. This would be her moment. Her legacy. She had no idea the donor's name, not yet. The invitation arrived in gold-embossed lettering. ABA Village Primary School 60th Anniversary. Jubilee Celebration, June 16, 2018. Guest of Honor, His Excellency, Governor Ikpeazu Red Carpet Reception, 10 Gowers AMMers. Nkem had planned this for 8 months. 500 guests, catering from Abba's Best Hotel, a live band, television cameras from 3 stations. The school compound had been transformed. Fresh paint, emerald green, Mrs. Nkem's signature color. A massive banner stretched across the gate. Excellence through discipline. A temporary stage stood in the center, draped in white cloth. Plastic chairs in neat rows. A red carpet led from the gate to the front row, where Mrs. Nkem had reserved seats for herself, the governor, and select board members. Principal Okoye, grayer now, heavier, stood near the stage in a new agbada. He'd survived 2 corruption allegations through strategic retirements. Today he would give a speech about building character through accountability. The irony was lost on him. By 9:30, the compound was filling. Women in elaborate jeel, men in embroidered agbadas, alumni from Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, politicians, businessmen, photographers circling. Mrs. Nkem wore gold lace and wrapper that cost 200,000 naira. Her jewelry, real this time, caught the sunlight. She stood at the gate greeting guests. Welcome, welcome. Yes, 60 years of excellence. Kwame and Amara arrived at 9:50. Kwame wore a simple cream agbada. Amara wore Ankara, deep blue with gold patterns. No flashy jewelry. No designer bags, they looked forgettable. Mrs. Nkem saw them. Her eyes narrowed briefly, then dismissed them. 2 more alumni. She turned back to the board members. Kwame and Amara found seats in the middle row. Kwame's hands were sweating. He wiped them on his agbada. At 10 o'clock, the governor arrived. Sirens, black SUV, security convoy. Photographers rushed forward. Governor Ikpeazu emerged, tall white agbada, flanked by aides. Mrs. Nkem curtsied deeply. Okoye bowed repeatedly. They led him to the stage. National anthem. Opening prayer. Okoye's speech about discipline. 12 minutes. No mention of his 2009 embezzlement case. Then Mrs. Nkem took the microphone. Today we celebrate 60 years of shaping young minds. This school has produced doctors, engineers, lawyers. We've maintained our standards, applause, and today, I'm honored to announce that a generous donor has pledged 50 million naira to renovate our facilities. Gasps. Cameras flashed. This donor believes in our mission. In excellence, she smiled. Governor, would you like to reveal their identity? The governor stood, took the microphone. His aide handed him a card. He glanced at it. His eyebrows rose. Our donor today is remarkable, he said slowly. Co-founders of Teachbox, recently acquired by Microsoft Corporation. He paused, looked at the card again as if confirming the number. For $120 million. The crowd inhaled collectively. A woman in the second row choked on her drink. Please welcome Mr. Kwame Eze and Ms. Amara Okafor. Silence. Not polite silence. Shocked silence. The kind that follows a car crash. Mrs. Nkem's smile froze. The program sheet in her hand began trembling. Kwame stood. Amara stood beside him. They walked to the red carpet, slowly, deliberately. Every footstep audible in the silence. The crowd turned. Heads swiveling. Whispers rippled like wind through dry grass. That's the janitor, the one who got fired. Microsoft? 120 million? Mrs. Nkem's face drained of color. She looked at Okoye. His mouth hung slightly open. Kwame climbed the stage steps. The wood creaked under his weight. The governor shook his hand warmly. Amara followed. The governor handed Kwame the microphone. Kwame stood there, looking out at 500 faces, at teachers who'd watched him get demoted, at parents who'd ignored him when he mopped their children's classrooms, at Mrs. Nkem, frozen 3 feet away, at the fence barely visible beyond the crowd, where he'd fed Amara fufu from a tin plate. He spoke. My name is Kwame Eze. 12 years ago, I was a teacher at this school. His voice was calm, steady. The microphone amplified every syllable. I was fired for feeding an orphan girl my lunch. Absolute silence. Principal Okoye called her a Distraction. Mrs. Nkem called her a beggar. Said she contaminated our reputation. Mrs. Nkem's jewelry clinked as she shifted weight. Her face was stone. That girl, Kwame gestured to Amara, is now my business partner. Together we built Teachbox. It teaches 2 million children across Africa. Children like she once was, invisible, hungry, forgotten. He paused. Let the number land. Microsoft bought our platform for $120 million. He looked directly at Mrs. Nkem. My share is 60 million. A man in the fourth row dropped his phone. The clatter echoed. I lived in a generator shed for 8 years, Kwame continued. I mopped the floors of the classroom I used to teach in. So I scrubbed toilets. I worked night shifts because my salary here was 4,000 naira a month, a woman gasped audibly. Today I'm donating 50 million naira to rebuild this school. New classrooms, new desks, new books, real ones, not photocopies. Several people glanced at Mrs. Nkem's husband. He stared at his shoes. But I have one condition, Kwame's voice hardened. Every child eats free lunch. No exceptions. No one ever gets called vermin for being hungry. Applause erupted, scattered, then building like thunder. Someone stood, then 10, then 50. Amara stepped forward, pulled the worn yellow notebook from her bag, held it high. This is what I drew when I was 9, she said into her microphone. When Papa Kwame fed me behind the dumpster because your principal banned me from the gate. She opened it, showed the pages, crayon drawings, stick figures. Thank you, Papa, in a child's handwriting. These drawings were my first business plan. Papa Kwame invested in me when I had nothing. When everyone here looked away. When your chairwoman called me filth. Mrs. Nkem flinched, visibly. Her hand flew to her throat. Now we invest in children like I was, Amara said. Not because it's profitable. Because it's right. The applause was deafening. The crowd was standing. Cameras recording. The governor clapping vigorously. Mrs. Nkem remained seated, her knuckles white, gripping the chair arms. A parent stood, a woman in the fourth row. Mrs. Nkem, didn't you vote to fire Teacher Kwame for this same kindness? Another voice. How much did your husband make from those fake textbooks? Another. You profit from our children but punish a man for sharing food? Mrs. Nkem stood abruptly. Her chair toppled backward with a crack. This is not... The governor turned to her. His expression was ice. Mrs. Nkem, perhaps you should step down. It wasn't a suggestion. She walked off the stage, head high, but her hands shook. Her gold jewelry clinked with every step. Photographers captured it all. 2 men approached the emerald green plaque near the gate, the one reading "Donated by Mrs. Nkem, board chairwoman." They lifted it off its bolts. Carried it away. The crowd watched, silent. Then someone clapped. Then everyone. Okoye tried to approach Kwame, extended his hand. Teacher Kwame, I always believed in you. Kwame looked at him, said nothing. Turned away. Okoye's hand hung in the air, dropped. The ceremony continued. The governor posed for photos with Kwame and Amara. Alumni lined up, apologizing, marveling. Mama Ngozi, the yam seller, pushed through the crowd, tears streaming. Papa Kwame, I always knew you were special. He hugged her. You gave Amara shelter. You're part of this. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Kwame stood alone at the fence, the chain-link barrier where it all began. Mrs. Adana, the teacher who'd whispered, "This is too harsh," 12 years ago, stopped beside him. Teacher Kwame, I'm sorry. I should have spoken louder. He turned. You spoke. That was enough. She nodded. Walked away. Amara joined him at the fence. Linked her arm through his. Do you feel vindicated? She asked. No, I feel tired. Good tired or bad tired? Both? Behind them music played, laughter, glasses clinking, but Kwame was already thinking about the next step. The reform. The boundaries. The mercy that required no revenge. Justice had been served. Now came the harder work, healing. The celebration lasted until evening. By the time the last guest left, Kwame's face ached from smiling. His back ached from standing. But his chest felt lighter than it had in 12 years. On Monday, Mrs. Nkem submitted her resignation. 2 sentences on crisp letterhead. The board accepted without comment. Her husband's textbook contract was terminated. 11 school accounts vanished within 2 weeks. No investigation. Just whispers. Okoye remained principal. Technically. but the governor appointed a supervisory committee, Dr. Chinwe among them. Okoye's decisions now required approval. He stopped wearing cologne, drove his old car. 3 weeks after the Jubilee, Mrs. Nkem requested a meeting. She came to Dr. Chinwe's house, where Kwame and Amara were staying. She wore simple clothes, no jewelry. Her face looked older. "Teacher Kwame," she said quietly, "may I speak with you?" They sat in Dr. Chinwe's parlor. Amara stayed, witness. Mrs. Nkem's hands trembled. "I was wrong. 12 years ago, I thought protecting the school's image mattered more than a child's hunger." Her voice cracked. "Can you forgive me?" Kwame looked at her. Saw fear, shame, the collapse of status. "I forgive you," he said. Relief crossed her face. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting," Kwame continued, "or returning to how things were." The relief faded. "You can't lead a school that values profit over people. Healing requires accountability, not access." Mrs. Nkem nodded slowly. "I understand. The PTA accounts," Amara said calmly. 18 months of missing funds, 1.8 million naira. You'll repay it, quietly, into the new scholarship fund." "I will," Mrs. Nkem whispered. "And you'll write apology letters," Kwame added, "to every family whose child was excluded for poverty." Mrs. Nkem's eyes filled. "I'll write them." She stood, bowed slightly, left. Dr. Chinwe entered with tea. "That was gracious." "No," Kwame said. "It was necessary. Grace without boundaries enables harm." The school renovation began in July. 4 new classrooms, a library, a computer lab, and a cafeteria. 200 free meals daily. The banner at the gate was replaced. "Learning through kindness." One afternoon in August, Okoye approached Kwame at the construction site. "Teacher Kwame, I was cruel. I took your dignity because I feared losing mine. I'm sorry." Kwame studied him, saw exhaustion, an old man who'd gambled integrity and lost. "I accept your apology, but you should resign. This school needs leaders who remember why education exists." Okoye nodded. By December, he kept his word. In December 2018, he retired. The board appointed a new principal, a young woman who'd taught in rural schools for 8 years. The Amara Initiative launched in January 2019. Free lunch, free tutoring, scholarships regardless of wealth. Within 6 months, enrollment doubled. Children who'd scrounged in markets now sat in classrooms, learning, dreaming. One afternoon in March, Kwame returned to the generator shed. Empty now. He walked to the old windowsill. Someone had left the blue chalk box there, dusty but intact. He picked it up. His wife's handwriting on the lid. "For my teacher, love, Adais." He carried it to the new library, placed it on a shelf near the entrance. A plaque beneath. "Donated by teacher Kwame Eze. Kindness is never wasted." That evening, he and Amara sat under the mango tree where Dr. Chinwe had found them years ago. "Do you ever regret it?" Amara asked. "The 12 years?" "I regret the pain. Not the path. Pain taught endurance, and endurance built this." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "You built me, Papa." "No," he said softly. "We built each other." The school bell rang. New students heading home, bellies full, notebooks heavy with knowledge. Kwame closed his eyes, and after 12 years let himself rest. But the story wasn't finished, not yet, because 50 kilometers away, in a government office, an education minister was reading a report about Teachbox, about a school transformed by mercy. And she was drafting a proposal that would take the Amara initiative nationwide. The seeds Kwame had planted were about to become a forest. 5 years later, 2023. Teachbox expanded to 12 African countries, 2.4 million students. 40,000 volunteer teachers. Kwame served as chief education officer. He traveled twice monthly but always returned to Aba, to the small bungalow he'd built 3 streets from the school, a garden in front, yellow flowers, no mansion, no fleet. Just enough. Amara became CEO, Forbes Africa's 30 under 30 in 2020. But every December she returned to Aba Village Primary, handed out scholarships personally. Dr. Chinwe retired peacefully in 2021. Her tutoring center became a teach-box hub. Her walking stick hung on the wall. The school had transformed. 800 students, hot meals daily, 5,000 books in Adi's Memorial Library. Okoye lived quietly, volunteered at a church literacy program. No one knew his past. Mrs. Thankem repaid the full 1.8 million by 2020, moved to Enugu, sold vegetables at the market. Honest work. She sent Kwame Christmas cards. He kept them in a drawer. One Saturday in August 2023, Kwame sat in his garden, watering yellow flowers, the same shade as Amara's childhood dress. The blue chalk box sat on a shelf inside, visible through the window. Amara called. "Papa, turn on the news, Channel 7. The education minister was announcing a new policy. The Amara Initiative nationwide program. Free lunch for every public primary school student. 186 million naira allocated. Inspired by a teacher who fed one orphan and changed a nation," the minister said. Kwame's phone rang again. Amara, crying, laughing. "We did it, Papa." "No," he said quietly. "God did it. We just showed up." He walked back to his garden, picked up the watering can. The sun was warm, the flowers bright. A school bell rang in the distance. Kwame smiled. "Kept watering. Because that's what you do. You plant. You water. You trust the harvest will come. Even when you can't see it yet. This is just one of countless African folklore narratives proving that touching stories don't end with pain. They pivot toward purpose. Kwame's journey mirrors the real-life stories we hear across Africa. Acts of mercy that seem small can reshape entire life stories. From Aba to Nairobi, African stories like this remind us fortunes aren't built on greed. They're built feeding one orphan at a time. What would you do if fired for helping someone in need? Have you witnessed injustice turn to justice? Comment below with your story. Share this tale to inspire someone who's lost hope. Hit that subscribe button. Next week, the widow who outsmarted the corrupt land baron. Patience, property law, and perfect revenge. You won't want to miss it.